And now, to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Sunday. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 5, episode 43, titled Devils Training Camp Less Than a Month Away. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Shorts Guy and Scotty, a Sirius XM liquid metal, and Shorts Guy's cat. What's your cat's name?
Her name is Tread.
Oh, okay. And we're coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios here in beautiful New Jersey and Beverly Hills, California. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. We're less than a month away from training camp, folks. Less than a month away. Oh, by the way, Beer Baron's on assignment. We didn't find out till like 4 hours prior to the podcast.
He's not on assignment. We had our fantasy draft before. He's just drunk. That's his assignment. We had our fantasy draft earlier today. It's just I'm out in Los Angeles, and he was partying in Jersey. That's all his assignment was today. Eat pizza and drink beer.
Would have been better if we just said he's serving another suspension.
Yeah, we could say that too.
Yeah, I mean, we can suspend him next weekend.
Yeah,
we'll tell him 30 minutes prior.
Yeah, exactly.
Sammy, you might want to look at your phone real quick. So,
yeah.
Am I still like Optimus Prime?
You are. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, guys. You could have told me on air.
Well,
right,
we try to keep
trying to be professional, but you know.
Yeah, seriously, we try to keep it professional, but obviously we're not very good at that.
Well, welcome everybody on Facebook Live and Twitter and YouTube and everywhere else you might be listening to this podcast. It's another summer edition. Oh boy, summer edition going on here. But we actually do have some news. Go ahead.
Who knows what direction this could go? It's summer.
We're not really sure where it's going to go, but we do have some news to talk about over the last week or so. And I'll jump right into it. And one of them was with the juniors, which just wrapped up. Team Canada took home the gold. Is it the gold? What is
Team
it?
Canada.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Team Canada won the gold against Finland, I believe.
Against Finland. Now, the
Yeah.
big news for Devils side of things is Luke got a flat tire during the old USA and what are they now? Czech? What is
Czech
it?
Republic? Czech Republic?
No, there's something different now. It's like Czechia or
Really?
something like that. Yeah, I don't even know what it is. And I don't even know what I am anymore. I thought I was part Czech. Then it was like, no, I think you're Slovak. Then it's like, no, you're back to being Czech. I have no idea where I'm because most people in Jersey are Polish or Italian. I was lucky enough to be Czech and Italian, but I mean,
and I'm mostly Irish. I'm like Irish and Italian, so
you're
mostly Irish.
So there's always some sort of mix like that.
If you can't tell from the shading of my arms from being on the beach for 3 days, I'm quite Irish indeed.
But Luke Hughes, he blew a tire there in the game against the whoever, the Czech Republic, whoever it is. And man, he was struggling all game long. It's happened in the first period, I believe, or maybe it was early second. I believe it was the first period. Our good friend Vinny Parisi over there at Pucks and Pitchforks has an article about it up on the old website if you want to take a look, but not what we were hoping to see from old Luke in that game. You could definitely see him laboring a lot. He was trying to make some things happen, especially at the end of the game when Team USA pulled within one. He made a bad no-look backhand pass on the power play, which basically just led to the Czech team getting an empty net goal to seal the deal. But Peter Hauser, another Devils prospect playing for the Czech team, he had a nice goal in that game. But the big news right there is Luke Hughes being injured on that knee. What do you think about that, Sam?
Yeah.
How do I sound now?
Sound better. Sound much better.
I was trying to give you the in there to go there without mentioning the whole sound, but yes.
I'm worried about the sound. I'm worried about the sound.
Better.
Sound
better.
Sound better.
Now, if I sound like Optimus Prime again, just let me know.
We'll let you know.
Okay.
But yeah,
it's
Luke
quite
Hughes,
unfortunate with Luke Hughes wiping out, but you know what? I think we saw enough that he is really good, and he's the reason why, big reason why Team USA was undefeated up until that point when he got hurt. And you know, the real surprise to me is Peter Hauser.
Yeah,
5th round pick. Could he be the next Jesper Bratt?
Jesper Bratt,
perhaps?
yeah.
There you go.
Because look, you know what? These late round picks don't frown upon them because sometimes the good players are the ones, the hidden gems that are undrafted or drafted in the high rounds. But hey, you know, he had an impact for how do you pronounce it? Czechia? I mean, I would say Czech Republic.
You're out. Czechia. I don't know.
I think it's Samsonite. Oh.
Samsonite.
That's it.
I was way off.
No, it looks like it's Czechia
Okay.
or something like that. It's an official short term instead of Czech Republic, so they're probably just going by more an official what a local would call the Czech Republic, not just anglicizing or westernizing it per se.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Well, it's kind of a bummer that Luke did get injured there because, as Sam was saying, he really was a catalyst for that team, propelling them forward. I mean, he just looks like he's, you know, a few steps ahead of the rest of the players that were out there until obviously he took that injury. But yeah, he's a big boy, and seeing him out there on that ice making some plays, it was impressive, and it was fun to watch while it lasted. And he gutted it out. It's not like he just sat on the bench. They threw him out there on the PP at the end, but you could just tell his knee was definitely hurting throughout that final game there. So hopeful that he can rest up and recover. I was looking. I didn't see any official injury, reports on it other than a knee or the old lower body injury, the old hockey lower body injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, you never want to see that. Obviously, with one of our prized prospects like that, and obviously someone, the family. We're in the Hughes family business over here with Jack on the team, and Luke coming soon, and maybe Quinn down the road at some point with a trade. You never know. But we're in the Hughes family business, and never want to see anyone get injured like that, especially in college. Such a young player. I mean, it's good that he'll have time to recover, but you do want to see him go out there and dominate for Michigan this year before he probably makes that jump over into the pros.
Well, training camp and all the preseason stuff for them should be starting, by the first week of September as well. So I'm sure if he's unable to do that, something will come out of Michigan. But we'll know more definitely by October how he is. Hopefully, we hear nothing and he's on the ice for them by mid-October and he plays through the season. Here's hoping it's nothing serious and nothing that's going to be a long-term problem that we're going to have to deal with, because that would suck. That would really suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ramona Rice says Luke will miss a workout for just 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
That would be
He's
great.
back out there.
That would be great.
And the other big news that we saw around the team is the Sarge is back. I know Sam was talking about it on the old Woo Report, but our good friend and the guy who some may forget is that devil who is a devil that won all 3 cups with the team. There's only how many? Was there 5 or 6 guys that won?
I think 3.
I think it was 5, right? 3.
Him, Brodeur.
No, 4. 4.
Niedermeyer,
Stevens,
Brodeur.
Breland. Is there
Danica.
one more?
Danica.
Danica.
Oh, so it's 5? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
5.
What do I know?
So it's 5. So you may forget because his number, for some reason or another, is not hanging up in the rafters. Maybe it will be someday at the Prudential Center. But yeah, Sergey Breland is back. And now, what is the difference between the associate coach and the assistant coach? Because now it says that Sergey Breland is the assistant coach, and McGill was the associate coach. I'm getting confused with the assistant and the associate over here. So
I don't really think it makes a big difference. I think an associate or assistant coach is probably the same, unless they're going in some kind of weird system where they're going to kind of like rotate coaching assignments. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a tryout to get the head coaching job.
Maybe the associate coach is really the head coach in waiting on the taxi squad in case something happens to Lindy. On the taxi squad.
Okay.
Maybe he gets
Maybe
he gets a bonus. Maybe he gets mucho dollars out of it. So he's on a higher status. Maybe Andrew Burnett has some perks, like maybe he gets to use the helicopter on the helipad. Games,
Okay.
Go home. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
Sarge is back, and we like that. He's been, the past couple of years down there in the minor league system. Well, all of his coaching credits are down in the Devils minor league system, and he's getting the shot to come back up to the NHL level. Now as a coach instead of as a player, and man, I couldn't be more excited about that. I'm really, really pumped about Sarge, about McGill, about Burnett. And, hopefully they'll have a little bit more of a game plan, because I know there was a bunch of times last year it looked like the Devils were going into games rather unprepared, and hopefully that will be remedied this year with this new coaching staff. And, man, Sarge back. I mean, what do you think about that, Shorts guy?
I love it. I always liked Sarge. He was always one of those players that he flew a little bit under the radar, because he wasn't like it wasn't a huge scorer. He wasn't a bone crushing defenseman. He didn't make the saves like Brodeur, but he was always that steady workhorse that was out there that was pivotal to the team. Basically, he would do whatever that was needed. And it is a shame that his number isn't retired, and it should be, because he was huge in those 3 in those 3 cup wins. So my hope is that this will hopefully solidify him into getting that distinction of having his jersey never retired. But I'm excited about it because it seems like he's really taken the time to get his feet under him coaching with and the organization has given him that time and set him up to learn the craft, because it's just like teaching. It's not easy just to get into it and expect to do well. He's been doing it for a little while. He's been doing it under some good coaches as well. So I'm sure he's been learning.
Kevin Dean,
I'm sure he probably has taken on the task much like his playing career, just kind of doing everything he needs to do in order to get the job done. And being there and being that support guy that's playing his role within the staff.
And that's something. And Sam, I'll go right to you. I just wanted to say that because Sarge was someone, earlier in his career, he put up some points. He put up goals. Like, him playing with Gomer and everything like that. He would put up some points. And then after a while, he transitioned into more of this shutdown role there with Madden and Pandolfo for a number of years. So he really was. He was never afraid to go out there and play the role, like you said, where the team needed him. That's
like
good
a Swiss
leadership
Army
right
knife.
there.
He's like a Swiss Army knife, willing to, potentially sacrifice his own points and stats in order to get the team a victory, which is what you want. And I think that'll be good. That type of mentality and that type of player influence on these younger players, I think is going to be huge, because we've got some younger players that some were late draft picks, some were pretty highly touted prospects, but to have someone like Sarge that basically bled for this team, lived and died for this team, can kind of impart that the history and the tradition of the team. Be like, hey, listen, if you really want a spot on this team, you really want to make it at this level, you got to be willing to take that third line shift when the coach says go take that shift, and basically put everything you have on the line in order to get the job done.
I can't wait for the Sarge chant. Remember we used to
can
do
bring
that
it back.
this guy?
We can bring it back. I've already thought about that. We can bring it back.
Sarge!
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 Except I played a much shorter version of that, but they won't let me bring the horn in anymore. So who knows?
They won't? Did they ban the horn?
It's a no fun zone in there, Sam. It's a no fun zone.
Did the arena seriously ban the horn? When
Sammy, I was having to sneak it in when I right before I stopped bringing it. I used to have to go into. I used to have to be escorted into a alternate entrance with the horn up my jersey in order for me to get that damn thing in. Yeah, for real. I would tuck it. I would tuck it up the back of my jersey and just like stand there with it like one finger holding it from falling out, and I'd get searched and I'd walk in and I had to hide it. But we also had an in with security that would be like, go right on in. He's like, okay, thanks. But yeah, I had to sneak that in towards the end of the life of the horn in the Prudential Center because it's no fun zone.
We'll have to see if we can get that horn back in there. But actually, you just mentioned something. Yeah, you just mentioned something that I kind of noticed this. We've all noticed as Devils fans, this is a very young team. Throughout the past, however many years, got a lot of prospects coming up, a lot of kids growing up in front of our eyes. However, this year, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but very subtly, we kind of gained a lot of experience. When you look at Palat, when you look at Brennan Smith, and when you look at Holla, that's 3 players right there, all with 500-plus games in their NHL career. And now you bring Sergei Brylin there as well as a coach, someone who else has, that large amount of games when he was a player, but also now a good amount of experience as a coach coming up through the minors, albeit the minors, not at the NHL level, but still. I think the Devils got a lot more experience all of a sudden, I think that's going to help the heck out of like Jesper Bratt and Nico Hischier and Igor Sharangovich, especially, who we saw has this potential, but was never really consistent. He had those ice cold moments, and then all of a sudden he's just whizzing these shots in there. But maybe these guys and that experience, we won't even talk about the grit that Holland brings, and maybe, Miles Wood as well. But I didn't even realize that. I was reading a little interview with Lindy Ruff. Those three players all have 500-plus games experience in the NHL.
Yeah, the games played experience is going to be huge. I think a lot of these guys that have bounced up and down between us and Utica are going to be familiar with Sergei, with Sarge, so know his coaching style. So that's going to be a help for that transition, because the new coaching staff can kind of be it can be a little rough in the beginning, but he'll also have a feel for those younger guys that he's dealt with already in Utica. And then I just love out of the three new signings, the idea that we have Palat, who just came off of 3 runs to the Stanley Cup Finals. I think that's going to be worth its weight in gold when you have someone who in the last 3 years knows what it takes to get there, knows what it takes to grind out some of those playoff series. But even just in the the dregs of the season, when you get to like late February, early March, when when it really comes down to the wire, when everyone's exhausted, when you need those points, he's there. I mean, not like Tampa ever really was in that situation where they were going to make or break, playoffs or not, but still being in those pivotal game 7s, experience like that is going to be, just worth its weight in gold when it comes to the time. And, with all hope, getting close to the playoffs is much closer this year than we were hopefully realizing or expecting, I should say. Yeah, that experience, it goes a huge long way, and we have on top of that, we brought in, another good solid goaltender to push that tandem along. Everything's looking good right now. And you're right. The experience has kind of been one of those lesser known discussed stuff. It's like, wow, these guys have been around a while. This is huge, because a lot of these, I'd be curious, rostered that was not brought in this year but was already in the Devils roster, what the most games played was between everyone on the team who had that experience. Severson, maybe?
I guess Severson, yeah.
He's got to be
because he was, But yeah, after him, I had none of those guys.
Right
I mean, and that experience is huge, though. I mean, especially with Palat, he knows how to win.
Yes,
he knows how to turn it on as well. Like when the playoffs start and everything else, and when you get into that grind, he knows how to turn it on and push it to that extra level, which is something the team hasn't experienced yet.
No, they have not.
And to have someone there that can drive them that way and motivate them and show them that this can be done with this team, I think that is huge for our young core Devils who are still learning on the fly. And I don't worry as much about Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, but, even Jesper Bratt, what happens if he slumps at the beginning of this season? We're all expecting him to put up like 75, 80 points. What happens if he slumps at the beginning? What happens if Sharangovich slumps again, which he has done in the past? What happens if Dawson Mercer has the sophomore slump? Having those experienced guys there will be able to give them that direction and that guidance that we were missing through the last number of years. Yeah.
And, we thought we'd get that with the team having Recchi behind the bench, but that just didn't work.
No.
We kind of were looking at that like, okay, maybe that was going to be it. Maybe that was, but
Recchi didn't have any part of the New Jersey Devils during his playing days. Sarge has that 30 years of loyalty.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to be big with, especially if we're building a team that we're expecting to have a core to be around and be together for the next, let's say, 10 years. You know, someone to teach these guys as they're going into this journey to be this core of this team for 10 years and what this team has done in the past, the history that's there, what it's taken to win, what it means to us. That is huge. That is something that can really make or break a team that's forming like this that you want to keep together, you know, to be cup contenders year in, year out. I love experienced players like that, like Brian Boyle when he was on our team.
Yes.
I thought he was worth everything that the Devils paid him, because he was that locker room guy that not only has gone through a lot of shit, a lot of stuff professionally in his career. Now this now this episode needs
Think about
XL
Shorts
tag
guy
to it.
when he curses. He tries to make up for it right afterwards.
I do.
He's trying to
Getting
get
at
it
the
out
XL.
before school season.
Yes.
Oh, let's not even talk about that yet. But going back to Brian Boyle, he also knew what it was like to go through things personally as well, which that experience for younger players is a big deal too. So we're getting players like that back onto the team where we've kind of lacked that experience, that leadership role that we just really haven't. You know, PK, like you can say to an extent, was that player the last couple seasons, because he was probably up until now he was probably the leader in games played. I gotta assume it was PK and then Severson.
Yeah, almost forgot about PK. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's not rostered. He's like, all right, well, he's gone. But up until now, he's probably been that player. So with these three guys, with 1,500 games combined between the three of them, that's going to fill that role and fill that gap, and then Sarge will fill that gap as well.
Yeah, I'm
So
just very excited about it. I didn't really think about it in that sense until I read that little article with Lindy, and that experience is just going to go a long way, because also those guys are going to be spread out throughout the lineup. Brendan Smith obviously going to be playing down there in that bottom pairing. Palat's going to be up in the top six. Holland's going to be down there in the bottom six. Yeah, I mean, I think this is really going to help the team out tremendously.
Oh, big time.
It was a young team last year. Last year was a very young team, probably the youngest team in the NHL, and now you put veteran leadership in all facets of the team. You know, Brendan Smith is going to be one of those underrated players that can help the defense from a leadership standpoint. We like to see Dougie Hamilton step it up a little bit more. Howla, again, on the bottom six. I'm not worried about the fourth line. And then when you have Palat on the top six as well, you can even add Tatar there. He needs to step it up as well. I think the team is going to be – they're not going to be bad. I'm not expecting them to make the playoffs. But I think they're going to make their mark this upcoming season. There's going to be a progression. If they can stop the bleeding before it gets really bad, I'm talking about 10-game losing streaks. That's what hurt them. They had a couple. They had a couple phases.
Oh, we had a couple of those, yeah.
Oh.
Too many.
So just from going through this on the topic of games played, we had the top three. Looks like it was PK Subban with over 800, Tatar had over 700, and it was Sam's favorite with just over with Severson just over 500, almost 550. So those are our top three.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 550, just over 700 for Tatar, and 8 something for Subban. So yeah, those were our 3 games leaders. It looked like, just looking through the roster real quickly, if I can speak, that'd be great. To see the games played. So bringing these guys in that are, I still think Palat being 3-time Stanley Cup finalist in the last 3 years is that's going to be great when we do make the playoffs. it's that's going to be great. So.
Well, Eugene Hewitt writes in the YouTube Live, this summer has left me deflated. Sorry, I don't see much improvement, if any. It's going to be a long year. I dispute that because the Devils have spent all the way to the cap. They brought in, they got rid of some of the dead weight that was on the team. We're not going to wait around for Pavel Zacha to become a superstar. We're not going to wait around for Ty Smith to finally develop. He went out, he got role players. But that John Marino contract, it remains to be seen, but it seems to be pretty good. You're not going to see, hopefully you won't see John Marino get beat off the puck and lazy passes and just turnovers after turnovers after turnovers. I think the team is going to improve. But the one X factor that we haven't even really discussed is the goaltending. Could Mackenzie Blackwood actually play like what we think Mackenzie Blackwood could be like if he wasn't hurt all the time? And Vitek Vanacek, look, it's there right for him to take it away from Mackenzie Blackwood. What will the goaltending be like? Because if the goaltending is steady this year and the defense meshes, and you take away Mark Recchi's power play, and they're not giving up those shorthanded chances like they were, I think this is going to be a much different team, because there was just stupid things that was just hurting the team last season. Just really stupid, basic things that most teams don't do. And I honestly think that if you eliminate those, you probably have gained 25 points in the standings. Because there were a lot of games that the Devils led, but they just blew it and got nothing. 0 points out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, Mark Recchi is saying that Pavel Zacha is much better than Eric Holla. We'll see. We'll see.
In a
Probably
game,
right.
In a game or practice.
Yeah.
No, and I say that because I've played with players in the past that have been practice players through and through. They looked phenomenal on the practice squad, in scrimmages, inter squad scrimmages, what have you at practice. Looked awesome. But then you get them in a game situation, and it's just they were not up to snuff with that, with the game situation, having that speed, the mind speed, the physical speed, the decision making, that wasn't all there. In a game or in a practice, it was there, but some players just can't put it together for a game. So and that's, I think, where frustration of a lot of fans comes from, is they see these players constantly screwing up but still getting playing time. It's like, well, they're probably playing well in practice, and the coach thinks that they have something they can give on during game time. But that would be my question. Is like, do you think he's good? Do you think he's better in a game or practice? Because I don't know. We waited a while on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't agree with Recchi's comments over here saying that Pavel Zacha uses his body a lot. Pavel always seemed like afraid of contact most of the time from when I was
Pavel
watching.
To be an animal. We needed him to be an animal, and he's just not. He's not that type of player.
Yeah.
He's not. He doesn't go into beast mode, and that's what we're expecting out of Howla. I'm not talking about offensive abilities or whatever, but he didn't use the size, and we need an animal back there. We really do, and that's what was missing on this team.
Yeah.
Hate to put
Kudos
it
to Ray Leo for pointing that one out. And Nate Milbank over there on Facebook, he says Mackenzie Blackwood's going to have a bounce back season this year. I hope so. I hope he does, Nate. I hope he does. So. And he's also half Irish, half Italian, like Shorts guy. So there you go.
Boom. There we go. Yeah. I would love to see Blackwood have a bounce back season and to be a consistent version of what we've seen in the short little sample sets that we got. But it was just, he never produced consistently enough in order to really take a stranglehold on that role. But with Vanacek coming in, it's like, well, yeah, I know he only has he has 79 games played in the NHL, his 2 seasons, so it's not like he's a super established goalie either. But he's young, and he did play with a good team in front of him in Washington. But at the same time, he's getting his chance here, and I guarantee no one is the starter going into September for sure. And then it's going to be a battle for that opening game against the Flyers on that Thursday. What is it, the 14th? I think it is. Mm-hmm. That's what the battle is going to be between the two of them. And I think Blackwood's going to have to, really have to step it up if he wants it. And I don't want any of this 1-1A crap. I hate that conversation. You need an out-and-out starter because you don't want to have any controversy come playoff time if we make the playoffs. You don't want a 1-1A and then have to flip-flop in the playoffs. Like, forget that. I think you need an out-and-out starter, but it's not. The days of 72 games is by one goaltender is well beyond us. So even a backup, it's going to be a 60-40 split. Maybe even 70-30 split. So you still need someone for those nights that your starter is not going to is going to rest. But you also need 2 solid goaltenders because of what if one goes on a streak and they just kind of lose it for a little bit. You have someone to throw right there in, and then hopefully the team doesn't really miss a beat till your starter gets it back. Or even if they battle and they push and it winds up being, Blackwood winds up starting a string and then Vanacek starts playing better than him and Vanacek gets it, as long as there's no controversy come any potential playoff time. But personally, I want to have an out-and-out starter, none of this sharing time, none of this 1-1A crap, just an out-and-out starter. And I want 2 guys battling for that also have solid respect for each other and are not sitting there stewing and being a bad influence on the bench because they're not playing as well.
Yeah. And I know Sam was talking about Eugene Hewitt over here. I just saw on YouTube role players, but the goal was to sign a top 6 scoring winger, and Palat is not that guy. Well, Palat, if we get to the playoffs, can be that guy. Now we got to get to the playoffs for him to really get there. But I can't see how you don't think this team, isn't improved from last year. I mean,
because we didn't sign anyone. We didn't sign anyone sexy. That's why that thought process is potentially there.
We were all in it on Gaudreau. We
were.
wanted Gaudreau, Tkachuk.
I wanted Tkachuk. Yeah, I wanted Tkachuk, but it didn't happen. But there's plenty. If you look at some of the free agents that are coming up the next 2 years, there's going to be a lot of guys. Oh, man, there are a lot going to be out there. Some big names, too.
Gaudreau never would have gotten that. Gaudreau never would have gotten that contract next year.
No.
Never. No, never. It was only because he was the only sexy name out on the market. That was it.
And Eugene, don't forget, we still have Mr. Holtz down there at the AHL level as well. Maybe his former coach, Sergei Brylin, can smooth that along to the NHL process, maybe, if you see how it's going over there. So just because we didn't sign Gaudreau or Tkachuk doesn't mean this team is not improved from last year. It is very much improved. And I'll say our buddy Nate is calling out for Sharon Govich to put up 30 goals this year. Will he? Maybe. I don't know. But I can definitely see that. I would definitely say maybe in the 20s. If he hits that 30-goal plateau, that would be incredible. But health will be the big thing. And Kyle pointed that out on YouTube as well. If Jack Hughes is healthy, if Dougie Hamilton stays healthy, if Nico stays healthy, you're looking at big point totals for these guys. If Jesper Bratt's on a prove-it contract right now, I know we were talking before, what if he slumps in the beginning, but you got to think that he's going to be coming like a ball of fire to go out there and prove that he's worth every single penny and more of that contract he signed. He's looking long-term. He's looking long-term. So even and I was just reading about Holla. It was saying the same thing. Yeah, he's a journeyman, but he's looking to stick somewhere. Could he be that influential veteran down there on that bottom 6 that's helping you out?
These are.
And maybe
I can't imagine
McLeod or something like that, you know?
I can't imagine none of these journeymen like being journeymen. You know, these guys want to stick in one spot and have success, constant success on a team, and not just go from one to the other to the other. So, you know, it just takes the right guy to be on the right team, and maybe this is it with him.
Yeah. Kyle's also talking about Andreas Janssen. He's kind of a fringe player right now, I would say, because he didn't perform the way exactly, because he's going to be in a walk year as well. Same thing with Tatar.
Yeah,
they're all going to be they're all in walk years. Yeah, you're going to have a highly motivated team.
I think Damon Severson's going to be motivated, and I think Ryan Graves will be motivated, and that's a big part of your defense.
Yeah.
Huge part of the defense.
Graves just saw a bunch of his buddies win the cup. You know he wants to do the same thing. You know, that's gotta you know it burns him to know that he was with that group of guys last year, and all of a sudden by the end of this spring, they're all winning a cup with, you know, in that jersey he used to play in. So you know it's gotta be extra motivation for him watching all of he's gotta be still good friends with a lot of those guys, you know. And to see all of them partying on their social medias, and I'm sure he's gotten text messages and pictures and stuff like that. Like we all have our own stupid text groups. You know, that's motivation to see all your buddies win the cup, and you were there and now you weren't. You know, not say that he's not grateful to be here, but you know, it's motivation. It's extra motivation for him, especially.
Definitely. And especially on a walk year, him as well.
Yeah.
He's going to be looking for a raise from that, whatever he's at, like $3 million. You know, he wants to get up into that $5 million range as a defenseman. He wants that nice, 5 to 6 year deal. He's going to be all over it. You're going to have a lot of motivated guys out there looking to play hard.
Yeah. You know, whether these guys are going to get those contracts with us or another team, they're going to want to win, and they're going to want to play well to earn those contracts. And that could benefit us big time as far as getting, making that playoff push this year, which I'm starting to have some, I know it's preseason, preseason hasn't even started yet, but just, I'm kind of starting to get that thought that it's a playoff push is a big potential for this year.
I think so.
And
I don't know if they'll make it, but I think they'll definitely be in the running, come down to the end of the season. Unless listen, if we get barraged with injuries again, random pucks to the face that knock Nico Hischier out for like 2 months and Dougie breaking his jaw or something like that.
That's stuff you can't control. That. It's the controllable things like, just playing like crap consistently and making no change to that, whether it's the coaching staff or the the players themselves. Those are the most frustrating things. The injury bug, every team gets hit with the injury bug. It's just a matter of having the depth to deal with that. But if the injury thing happens and it's submarines or season, it's like that's one of those things like what the hell can you do? It sucks, but you can't control that. If that happens, it happens.
Yeah, and Brian, don't call me John Tavares on the YouTube live here. We were just talking about it earlier, Brian. Sharon Govich, if he gets out to a hot start, that'll make a big difference because it'll give him confidence. But if he doesn't and he slumps a bit, that's where these experienced players are going to be able to go in there and really straighten that out and not let it, spiral out of control with a young player like that. I really think this will be a nice season for old Igor. I think Brian wrote Igor, but I think you mean Yegor, and that's okay. Yegor? Is it Yegor? I thought it was Igor. I don't know, whatever. One or the other.
I think having Breland there is going to be so key for a lot of the European players. I think he's going to, because he is well respected. Loyalty comes at a premium. 30 years with the New Jersey Devils from start to finish his career. Remember the impact that he had on all those cup teams? And what he did was he did a lot of the dirty work, and he wasn't really a big guy, but he was so effective, and he played against top lines night in and night out. That Madden, Pandolfo, Breland line is a line that the most underappreciated line, during that era.
And maybe Sarge, just with his, Russian roots, maybe that would be a nice help to Sharangovich as well. Right? Isn't Sharangovich, where is he from?
Belarus.
Sharangovich? Belarus.
He's Belarus, right? Okay.
Belarus.
I mean, that can help out right there.
But still, I mean, Sergei Breland's definitely a well-respected member of, the hockey community. So, especially, I mean, if you remember some of the stories that McGillney and Breland would talk about, the old Soviet Union, where you have to reuse hockey tape, you guys are that dirt poor.
Don't give that. Who was it? Was it Mikey McLeod with the poor stick tape? Don't
Yes,
give him that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
I remember back in the day we used to long-term lease it from the U.S. Postal Service. Remember, Short Scout?
That was like the big trend in inline hockey in the early 2000s was postal tape. Everyone wanted to use postal tape. I don't know why. And
priority service.
In all ranks of inline hockey, people were using postal tape for their shin pads, and it's. I don't even know how everyone got that postal tape.
Have you ever used it on ice? Have you ever used it on ice? Postal tape on ice? It actually holds up well.
No.
It actually holds up pretty well with the.
If I skated out on ice, it was sock tape. I used sock tape. I didn't use postal tape. In fact, I don't even think I ever used postal tape even playing inline.
Really?
So, yeah. Because I didn't skate out inline
when I didn't have any
on.
tape in my bag. I wasn't gonna buy tape from Greg from Instant Replay. This is Greg. Greg from
I'm excited
Instant
having Sarge.
Replay.
Yeah.
I'm excited having Sarge on that team there. Just looking at some of his stats there, man. That 2001 season, he had 52 points, 23 goals, 29 assists. He put up another 44 the following year with 16 goals and 28 assists. Man, he was just a solid player all around.
Mm-hmm.
He was a plus 25 and a plus 21 those 2 years. Playing against some of the best lines. Man. Woo!
Yeah. Yeah, and he's coached in this organization for a long while now, so he's been there for a while, and I guarantee we'll see Elias pop in here and out throughout the season too, which he's been doing a little bit more regularly. I can imagine with Sarge being here with the team, we may see it more often as a possibility, which would be fantastic.
It would be kind of cool to see Scott Stevens have at least lend a hand somewhere within the organization. I miss having him around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for his leadership.
Maybe nice come in as a special assignment. Yeah, special assignment coach or something like that,
He can't be the hitting coach anymore, though, because his hits are now wildly illegal in the league.
I know.
Maybe he could take the boys.
Remember that?
Right.
Remember they used to just come down the ice. You just be like, play the body, just hit them. That don't fly no more.
Nope.
Oh, the good old
Nothing
days.
flies anymore. I mean, I wish we could talk about it on air, but some of the chants we used to chant at the arena back 25 years ago. Whew,
I think
can't do that nowadays.
Let's not talk about that on air. Hey, Mike, don't worry on YouTube Live. Don't worry about Breland having to wait. He's here now, and that's the most important thing. And he's got the experience, And as Shorts Guy was mentioning before, a lot of these young kids that we're going to see, we just talked about the Tatars, the Janssens, either one or the other. I can't see both of them remaining on the team, but Damon Severson or Ryan Graves, one of them is probably going to get traded at some point, So
And
then you're going to bring up, your Kevin Balls, your Ahoy Tukes, your Riley Walshes, and these are all guys that Sarge has worked with. Alexander Holtz, Tice Thompson, Chase Stillman, all these guys are those that he has helped mentor so far. And it's going to make their comfort level so much better when they come up to the NHL, which will probably be at some point this year or definitely next year. I think you're going to see half those guys this year and the other half next year. That's how it's going to go.
Yeah. And
Tatar won't be here. Janssen won't be here.
Yeah.
If Hollis stays, we'll see. But one of Graves or Severson is likely gone. Brendan Smith is only here for 2 years. If someone comes with an offer at the trade deadline for an experienced defenseman, don't be so surprised to see him go.
Yeah, I
mean, that's going to make that transition easier with Breland behind the bench for these young kids coming up from Utica.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's going to be the key thing with him. It's being that help in transitioning, of a familiar voice in the room, because it's got to be it's intimidating to be the new guy in a locker room. You don't know who to talk to. If you don't know anyone, you're kind of just mind your own locker, and you just kind of stay there and hope that you don't screw up. At least someone that they recognize in Breland is able to be like, hey, listen, everything's fine. If you got to talk to anyone, me, come talk to me. Those are the small things when you're the new guy in the locker room that are huge, and that like you said, that help with that transition. It could mean the difference between a player coming in the form within a week versus 3 weeks. And I'd rather see anyone coming in the form sooner rather than later if they have to come up from Utica. And Sarge could be that reason that these players come into form, even if they make the roster early on. Still they're going to need someone just that they recognize that they can go to if they run into an issue, they run into a problem. They're just anything, even just a talk,
anything.
Yeah, anything.
Exactly.
Just
think about the mental
that
toughness
voice.
That. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, just to have that voice in the locker room that you recognize that you can trust and go to.
And you think about where Sarge came from, coming over from Russia, learning the language, having to deal with all that adversity, and he made it. And he thrived in it. He's got to have more than just a few tricks up his sleeve about being in those situations that a lot of these young guys are going to be in,
Yeah.
So having him there is going to be just phenomenal for this team. And then having that extra experience with the Palots, with the Hollas, with the Brendan Smiths, I think that's going to make a big difference as well. Huge.
Yeah. It's
because we
nothing.
We liked
nothing
PK, but PK, was more of PK was on the social media a lot and everything like that. He was a good player. He's a good statesman for the team and stuff like that. But
at the same time, PK's career is on the downward end of it, and he's got to have to build himself. So part of it was I'm sure him trying to build himself a brand for when hockey's over. He's got something to rely on. So he was starting into that transition of being that post playing career PK, which not to say that it took away from his performance on the ice or anything like that, but he was also just
tried,
like any of us.
Just not the same.
He tried, yeah, but like any of us in that position would want to make sure we were set up for after our career ended. We're just not. Yeah. We're just not dealing with 17,000 people and staring us down and another couple million on television watching us make these changes. So I don't blame him for having to do that, but at the same time his play was not as solid as it once was. So
yeah, he just didn't have the wheels that he used to. But I mean, like you gotta give him credit for gutting it out on a lot of different occasions. Mm-hmm. I'm sure everybody saw that gnarly gash that he had on his leg that he needed stitched up, and he went back out there and continued playing, but that was a massive gash that he had on his leg. So, I mean, he provided leadership that way, but I don't know, just Sarge with all that time with the Devils organization, I just think it's just something a little bit different. And, the adversity that he had to go through coming from Russia and everything like that, I just think he'll really be able to help out this young, because PK was always a star wherever he went,
Yep.
So, and he had
Sarge
the big money. Sarge
himself.
never really got Sarge had to prove himself. He was playing on that third line. He had to hustle every single game. He didn't have that big, sexy name. He wasn't a Scott Stevens or a Niedermeyer or a Patrick Elias or anything like that. He had to hustle and work every single night that he was out there. And I think that attitude, that mentality is going to work wonders for these young kids.
Well, and then the bottom line with having to do what he did to prove himself to get to that level, his reward was 3 Stanley Cup rings in his cabinet.
Yeah. Yep.
And a fourth trip to a final that we should have won. But that was his that was his reward for going through all that adversity, was that he won Stanley Cups. And man, I was there at Game 6.
That was my favorite. My favorite team of all time.
And any other year, I would have been happy for Ray Bourque winning the Stanley Cup. Except that year, he could have. I could care less that he won the Stanley Cup because it was against us. I can't disassociate stuff like that. It's all or nothing.
I know.
It's if my team wins.
Every time I see it, like on a little highlight package, I'm like, oh man. That was like the greatest Devils team of all time.
I know.
That was the year we really had the offense to go with the defense as well.
Yeah.
With O'Kinley and Elliott. Oh, man. It was rigged. It was rigged. I think it was.
That's a Sam
but I think we're getting pretty close to time here.
I think we are as well.
Probably start to I agree, Sam. The NHL. So Gary Bettman.
I agree.
Coming in there and rigging it. Yeah.
Not that they've done it before.
We should probably start our old final thoughts here for the week. Mine is just going to be, excited about Sarge and very happy for him as well. Glad to see him be rewarded for all his hard work, and just very excited for what he's going to bring to the team. And look out, Devils are a little bit more experienced this year than they have in the past couple of years. It's something that, we talked about, we never really thought about. But when you look at it, there's some games played over there. There's some good stuff going on. So very excited about that. And I will throw out one last happy birthday to the great Dimebag Darrell Abbott of Pantera. August the 20th was his birthday. So one of the greatest guitarists of all time, no matter what genre. Go listen to some Pantera if you haven't this weekend, and throw back a black tooth for Dimebag Darrell.
Hell yeah. My final thought is the same as yours. I'm excited to see Sarge for what he can bring to this team, the experience, the tradition of what it is to be a New Jersey Devil, which I think we have, in a sense, lost in the last couple of years in transitions of ownership. We have lost the history of this team. And I think Sarge is there. Even though we have Brodeur, his influence is in the boardroom, and I think the boardroom tries to whitewash the history. But Sarge is an epitome of what it takes to not only be a Devil, but to make your way as a Devil. And coming from the old Soviet Union in order to make your way as a Devil, I mean that's especially if we're going to have a core of guys that are going to be here for 10 years. That's what you want. You want them to know why they're here and what they're playing for.
Good point. That tradition. I like it.
So.
All right.
I guess Sam,
that's
it for the week.
Sam, were you there?
Or is he letting us take it home?
I guess he's letting us take it home right here. I know he's been having some mic issues, sounding like Optimus Wu. For the for the podcast, but keep it here at the Let's Go Devils Network. We'll have plenty more stuff coming your way this week. There'll be Woo reports. Maybe there'll be a Devils After Dark. Wednesday we'll have State of the Fan address. with Nick Villano from Pucks and Pitchforks. Hockey on Tap on Mondays. You got everything going on here. All your hockey needs.
Hockey on Tap is off until
okay.
September. Yeah, we're off till September. We'll be back late September.
Oh, okay. My bad.
But thank you for the shout out, though.
But, of course, we got a whole network of programming for you out there. We'll be back again next week. Beer Baron will be back because we won't have a fantasy draft like we did today. So he will be sober and back ready to podcast his way.
You might have to
so
give him a
for
penalty,
Shorts
though.
Guy. Oh yeah. For Shorts Guy and those guns in that Devil's tank top over there, I'm Scotty, and for the great Sam Woo, let's go Devils!